Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Shadowhunters. 2 episodes this time. 319 titled Aku Cinta Kamu, which translates to I Love You in Indonesian, which premiered April 22nd, 2019. And then also episode 320 titled City of Glass, which premiered April 29th, 2019, both on Freeform. I watched them on Netflix. I actually watched 320 maybe 8 hours ago. Bad idea to watch it before going to work, because those last moments of 320 just, I bawled my eyes out. I didn't expect to at all. So that's very bad when I'm supposed to be at work within the half hour. So anyways, I'm going to try to do this in 25 minutes. So huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the 2 episodes already, please go to so first and then come back and see what they say about the episodes. So other video reminders are up on screen. Take a moment to remind yourselves. Also, as a reminder, the fact that 320 was initially supposed to be the season finale for season 3 before it was announced that it would be the final season, and then before they got their 2 additional episodes to play as the series finale. So there are cliffhangers in 320 just because it originally was supposed to be the finale. So anyways, back to the timer. I'm going to try to do 25 minutes. Start the clock. Let's begin with what happened in these 2 episodes. So episode reminder for 319. I guess you can kind of say that it's I'm just going to call it the Malik reminder, just because the episode translation itself is specifically said by Magnus to Alec. So I'll leave it with that. And then for 320, the reminder is going to be the fact that this was supposed to be the season finale for 3B before they added the series finale onto it. So there's that. Timeline-wise, though, for 319, the events happened the day after what 318 ended off with. They did make a point of... So 318 was Halloween, so I'm guessing this 319 technically would be November 1st. But in the episode, it stated that the almost Sizzy kiss was quote-unquote last night. And that was before the alarms in the Institute had gone off. So that's the timeline there. Also for 320, though, the timeline, specifically, Mare said that it has been 3 days since Alec had gone to see her to ask for the family ring. Now, that moment was the last seen in episode 316. So I'm kind of stunned that the events of 317, 318, and 319 all happened in the span of 3 days. I'm still stunned by that. So there's that. But let's move on to the most shocking moment of the episode. For 319, my surprise is the fact that Asmodeus had stopped Magnus from erasing his memories of Alec. I thought, if anything, he would have wanted Magnus to get rid of those memories so that he didn't have that tether to the Shadowhunter. And then he just solely be the warlock son that Asmodeus wanted from him. So I was a little surprised that he stopped him from doing that. I'm glad that he did, but I'm still surprised that he would want to. And for 320, the shocking moment would have to be, first off, Jace was the one that stabbed Clary in the twinning room with Glorious. And then also it was a surprise that Jonathan actually has black wings, and they emerged once the twinning rune broke, and he escaped with the Morning Star. So I always thought the last time we see Jonathan with the black wings was inside Clary's mind. So I always thought it was just meant to be like a manifestation or a representation of like the black wings being like the demon blood and the dark influences around him. I didn't think Jonathan actually had the wings, like that he could actually call forth them and anything. But like, so that was a surprise to see those popping up. So there's that. But let's move on to the first scenes of the episode. So for 319, the first scene was Asmodeus giving Magnus his magic back. So that was a hurrah moment there. And then for 320, the first scene was Jonathan interrogating the Sealy Queen after him and Clary had kidnapped her from the Bone Chandelier Club at the end of 319. So there's that. Let's move on to storylines, breakdowns, if you will. So there's actually quite a few. There's 5 each in the episodes. So for 319, I did pick up on the fact that one being creating Glorious, well, I'll talk about in a moment as well. Second one being finding Clary. And this one pertains to Jace going undercover to stick by Clary's side and keep tabs on them until Glorious was ready. This is where we see the Sealy rings being used to communicate between Jace and Alec while he's undercover. So we see them in Prague for this part as well. But this is also connected to storyline 3, which is kidnapping a queen, which I'll talk about in a little moment as well. So there's that. Storyline number 4 was titled One Vial Left, which is pertaining to the Heavenly Fire Serum. This is when Maya and Jordan learn about the serum through Raphael. And this is because Raphael wanted to pay his respects to the pack and what his former vampire Ness had done to them. And he ended up revealing that he's human and it's because of the serum and stuff, right? So this leads Maya and Jordan to the Institute, only for Jordan to leave with the stolen vial, since there's only one left after they used all the other ones to create Glorious. So there's that. And then the 5th storyline is the memory montage, and that particularly deals with Magnus struggling with his memories of Alec. We do see actual flashback scenes of these memories, so with Alec and Magnus putting their own love lock in a spot in New York, also having their date night with Madsy as another one as well. And then we also see Magnus going to see Brother Zachariah in hopes that he would erase his memories of Alec. But then Brother Zachariah said that he won't do it, but if Magnus truly wants that done, then he knows that Magnus will find the strength to do so. So that's that storyline there. For 320, the storylines are Ransom for the Queen, which I'll talk about in a little moment. The Royal Birthright, third one being Battle of the Swords, which I'll talk about in a little moment as well. Saving Alicante, as well as Ocean City. So with the second storyline with Royal Birthright, that pretty much deals with Magnus having to deal with Asmodeus. He ends up finding out what he made Alec do in order to get his magic back. As a result, Magnus pretty much banishes his father to limbo by sending him through a portal while unconscious, which means that he'll be stuck in limbo forever, never to come back again. So we see the last of Asmodeus through that. With the 4th storyline with Saving Alicante, after the events of the 1st and the 3rd storyline, we do see Jonathan going to Alicante to open up a rift to Edom to allow the demons to attack the city. So we kind of see Shadowhunters try to figure out what to do next. So there's that. And then the 5th storyline with Ocean City is Jordan telling Maya about the serum, how he stole it for her to take to start a new life. And then he also tells her that he's actually dying because the Praetor couldn't cure him from the silver poisoning. And he actually dies by the bonfire as she went to go get drinks. So there is that. So let's move on to the specific storylines that I wanted to talk about. So this one deals particularly to one either being the Morningstar sword, which is Lucifer's, or the Glorious, which is Michael's sword. So in regards to the Morningstar sword, for 319, I have it pertaining to the kidnapping a queen storyline, which I labeled as number 3. So this one, we have Jonathan wanting to kidnap the Sealy Queen in exchange for the Morningstar sword. They end up doing so at a club in Prague called the Bone Chandelier, which is it's catered towards downworlders. The Queen goes there once a month to rendezvous with her lover, ended up being a warlock this time. So Jonathan, Clary, and Jace end up going there to kidnap her, which they do succeed because in 320 for the Morningstar sword, we do see Jonathan and Clary setting up a ransom for the Sealys in order for them to get their queen back. They end up getting their hands on the Morningstar sword. Now, when this sword is in the hands of a Morgenstern, the runes on it light up and they start casting red flames on it. So that was pretty cool there. Now let's move on to Glorious, Michael's sword. So in 319, this is where we get creating Glorious, that storyline. So we see Izzy creating the new Glorious sword with Cleophias' tools brought to them from Luke. They needed specifically the pure heavenly fire rock that she managed to extract from the serum vials, and together they formed a rock. And they also needed Eutherio's blood, which they got through Simon because Simon had drank Jace's blood, and Jace's blood has Eutherio's blood in it. So with all those components, they were able to create a new Glorious. Now, when the Glorious sword is used, instead of red flames, it it lights up with yellow flames. So there's that. And note, I am very happy in this storyline when Simon brings up the Iron Sisters as why they aren't an option for the sword. And then Isabel explained the fact that if the Iron Sisters knew about them having a fragment of heavenly fire for Glorious, then it would be used for other means. So I do appreciate that it was finally brought up, because for the sole duration of 3B, I was wondering why they weren't brought up. I kind of wish we got to see Cleophius, but at least she was mentioned, so I really appreciate that. For 320, in regards to the Sword of Glorious, we do get the Battle of Swords, which I'm calling it, and that is when we get Clary wielding the Morningstar Sword, fighting against Izzy, who is wielding the new Glorious Sword. And after all that, Jace is the one that ends up using Glorious and stabs Clary in order to break the twinning room between her and Jonathan. When this happens, though, Jonathan's powers are fully unleashed, as if Clary was holding him back. And this is where we get him full black wings and full power, as well as having the sword in his hands. Shortly after this, though, we do get Glorious shattering once again like the original sword had done. Isabel shields her... She uses herself as a shield over Simon so that he doesn't get killed from the blast, but she ends up getting shards in her back. I'm kind of surprised that she was able to stand up to even take out the shards in her, because that looked like a spinal injury, right? But we do see that. So let's move on to the last scenes of the episode. So for 319, we do have Asmodeus stopping Magnus from banishing his memories of Alec away. And then for 320, the last scene was Magnus leaving for Edom so that he can close the rift on that side so that he can save Alicante. So there's that. So let's go to tidbits very quickly. This is very short, thankfully. But for 319, we do have tidbits being that Maya repainted the Jade Wolf with a little bit of Jordan's help. We do see Maya kissing Jordan only to pull away shortly afterwards, claiming that they can't go back to how things were. We do also find out that Isabel watched the Superman movie because of Simon's interest in it. And we do also find out that Simon hates needles. So there's that. So for 320, though, we find out that the Praetor Lupus gives Luke a mission to retrieve the Heavenly Fire Serum from Jordan. Luke gets the serum from Maya after just learning that Jordan is dying. So that's a little wishy-washy there. But we also see Jonathan, or we don't see Jonathan doing it, but we do know that he taught Clary how to move the apartment along the ley lines, because she was able to do it later on by herself without him. So there's that. So let's move on to characters. So for 319, we do find out about specific Seelies, and the ones that happen to have a blue sigil. I don't know if it's always on the neck, but this certain blue sigil means that they're part of the Queen's elite. And Jace is able to identify that very quickly. Also with the Seelie Queen, we do find out that she's expecting her warlock lover at the Bone Chandelier Club. It's still a little weird seeing an older version of the Queen. So there's that. And then for Raphael, we found out that he hasn't been in the sun for 80 years. He actually attended his first morning mass in such a long time during the events of 319. So that was a little something there. For 320, we do get a little bit more about character details. For Clary, we do find out during her talk with Jace that she was fully aware and in control of her actions while she was quote-unquote Dark Clary, which is very different to when Jace was being possessed by the owl, because he had no memory and no control of what the owl did while in his body. So there is that, which has a little bit more of a shift in guilt between how the two of them dealt with their certain situations. So there's that. We also do have Melianor returning and also agreeing to a deal with Jace, which ends up with Jace being indebted to Melianor for forever, as he claims, which I believe is the reason why he took the deal, to have that type of favor from Jace. So there's that. With Lorenzo Ray, we see him again. We find out that he's the son of Belial, who is the subject of the Asmodeus. So, was it by conjecture or by association? That would mean that Lorenzo has to be a subject of Magnus's due to that their paternal dynamic. But because of that refusal, Asmodeus turned Lorenzo into this lizard thing. So there's that. With Jordan, we do see him dying at the very end and having a funeral pyre performed for his body by Maya and the rest of the surviving wolves. Simon is also present as well. So we do see that. Also with Maya, we see her not only declining to take the Heavenly Fire Serum, but also recognizing that she is the alpha of the pack now. So there's that. And we do also see the return of Aileen Penhollow as well as Helen Blackthorne, both being caught by Alec for quote-unquote researching. Although I'm pretty sure Alec and Isabel know that was a bold-faced lie. So there's that. So let's talk about runes. So I will say this, that the Aratsi rune was featured in both episodes. For 319, it was shown when Jonathan uses it on Jace and Clary to sober them up at the Bone Chandelier Club. For 320, it was implied to have been used on Isabel after she had removed the shards, the glorious shards from her back. And then also, subconsciously, the twinning rune is featured in both episodes. Specifically with 320, we see it being destroyed when Glorious is stabbed right in the rune. So there's that. Hang on. Sorry, phone call. Let's start these timers again. Okay, where was I? Yeah, okay. So yeah, let's just go to top favorites, because I'm pretty sure I'm done with runes. So, for 319, the favorites I did have was Isabel using a Superman reference to distract Simon while she was taking his blood, and his excitement over her watching the movie and just like how it ties into everything. It's just like the joy that you see on his face, and the fact that she went through all the trouble to watch it and actually recall what she watched was just so sweet, and it was so cute. So I really like that moment for them. Another favorite I had was the fight scene in the Bone Chandelier Club that not only Jace had, but Clary teamed up with him as well. I think Jonathan took partake in some of the fights as well, but that was pretty cool to have it in such a close setup. It also kind of reminded me of the club scene in the premiere episode, in episode 101. So it kind of gave me a bit of a nostalgia there. Also, another favorite Isla had, according to my notes, was seeing Clary struggling to keep both Jace and Jonathan alive. She refuses to let Jace fight alone, yet she refuses to leave her brother again. It was very interesting to see her wanting to keep both of these important men in her life, but I'm so conflicted when it comes to Dark Clary's dynamic with Jonathan, because a lot of the things that they've said and done feel creepy to me, and it's just like a lot of this stuff is like things that a dark couple would say, and like the only other sibling dynamic that is evil or the villain, I would say, that I can think of is the Michelson family, specifically when they were on the Vampire Diaries, mainly either with Klaus and Rebecca. It's like they had team ups, they were both considered villains, yet they didn't give me this, like, you could tell with them that they were siblings and they, like, there was that line. But then when Clary and Jonathan do it, it's just like I'm conflicted, because like, oh, that's something that siblings should not be saying towards each other. And it's just like, I don't know if that's just the darker aspect of it, but then I think of the Michelsons, it's like, no, it's just like, I don't know what to think. But I'll just leave it to the fact that the confliction makes it more interesting, I guess. And another favorite I did have for 319 was the fact that we got to see Magnus's memories of Alec. Despite the pain that Magnus is feeling, I did like this just because we got to see what he views as being important memories. I love that we got to see as many memories in length that we did, as well as just the flashes of the montages. I really always like those scenes because it's very interesting to see what the character focuses on in those moments of recall. And it's just like, I appreciate the detailing there. So there's that. Now for 320, my top favorite moments are, first off, Maris telling Magnus about Alec's proposal and really letting him know that there was an underlying reason why Alec broke them up. And I really appreciate that she just wasn't gonna accept Alec's answer when she asked him about Magnus, and she went over there to check on him and tell him and everything. So I really appreciate that she was the one that put Malik back on track. So I do appreciate that. Another scene I liked or dynamic is Claire reuniting with Jace, and then also after the twinning rune was destroyed, also as well when they're back in Alicante and Jace is overwhelmed with the fact that his home could be destroyed, and he's ready and he's accepted like that could possibly be the fate, but he wants to reassure her that he will love her to the very end, and she does the exact same thing with him. While it's sad for them to like kind of give up hope on the fact that they might not survive this, I do appreciate that they took that moment to remind each other of where they stood, especially after the distance they've had with Dark Clary in control. So I do appreciate that. And then another favorite I had was Alec reuniting with Magnus in Alicante. Again, I cried during their proposal scene. I wasn't expecting to cry, so it was a shocker there. But it was very sweet to have them finally be open with each other about like what was going on and yet still love and accept each other. It just, again, broke my heart when they had to be separated once again to save everybody. But it's just, I really appreciate that they got a moment before all that kind of blew up in their face. So there's that. But let's move on to top peeved moments. So for 319, according to my notes, I didn't like or understand why Jace didn't hide the Seelie ring the moment he felt his concentration slipping, because the Seelie ring is concealed. The moment that you're not alert, that's where it reveals himself. So when you're sleeping or you're not in control of yourself, that's where it will appear. And we saw that happening. So we see Jace contacting Alec through the Seelie rings about his focus slipping, about being drugged, and how like he could feel his focus shifting. So I'm just wondering, the moment he contacted Alec and like ended things with him, why didn't he not just slip the ring off as discreetly as he could, put it in his pocket, so that there was no way that Jonathan could see it come back into being visible jewelry. So I just didn't understand why that wasn't the case, instead of him being completely lost to the drug itself. I mean, if Jace was enough of a clear state of mind to make the contact with Alec and warn him of the fact that like I'm slipping, I don't know how long I can hold it, and it's just like cut it there and then just take the ring off because that will keep you safe. I just didn't like that wasn't done, because I didn't understand why I couldn't, if he had enough sense to reach out to Alec the way he did. So there's that. Another peeve I had was the fact that I'm very annoyed that this whole pure angel blood business with Jace is being completely forgotten in 3B, or the connection that he shares with Clary because of Eutherio's blood that's flowing between both of them. How it's completely forgotten. Like, especially now that Euthyrio was killed, I can understand it being on the back burner since he was killed in 3A. But I just don't understand why that specific connection between them with Eutherio's blood, the fact that they both have Eutherio's blood in them, giving them more powers, has been completely forgotten in 3B. Just because, like I truly want to see good versus evil Clary happening inside her head, how you have the black wings versus the white wing Clary, and then have the twinning rune be the form of the black wing, and then the white wings being Eutherio's blood, and have them fight in Clary's mind and such. But then also, I just don't like the fact that it's being disregarded, especially with, I will talk about it in my random questions, but in 219, you do see it happening. So I'll just leave it at that. It will come right back to it. Top peeve I had for 320 is the fact that Jordan wasn't cured by the Praetor Lupus, and that's all I'm going to say there. I'm going to leave it there at this moment. I only start now. Okay, so let's go on to random questions very quickly. But first question for 319 was, does Clary not see or notice that there is a change within her? I mean, that's kind of answered in 320, how she is aware after the fact that she was in control of all her actions and decisions and choices and all that, but I don't know if in the moment she's aware that she was any different. So that's my question there. Another question was, does the Seelie Queen's bite on Jonathan mean anything? Because he did react pretty badly to her, but I don't know if that's just because it's a bite, right? Like anyone would react to someone biting them. So there's that. Another question, why didn't the Eutherio's blood in Jace make a connection with the Euthyrio blood in Clary? Because if you remember back in 219, when Clary drew a new rune on herself and on Jace to connect them so they can access their mutual angelic power through Euthyrio in order to track down Jonathan, why can't Jace use that same rune to connect with Clary and break through the twinning rune? That's another thing that I was talking about in the peeve. Like, that whole thing that they established in 2B, with the ethereal blood flowing through both of them, how they're able to do a lot more than the average Shadowhunter. And it's just like, that seems to all be forgotten in 3B. And I'm left wondering, well, there's a lot of things that additional power could have done against the Twinning Rune, because they're not like every other Shadowhunter, right? So I'm just wondering what gives. And the last question for 319 was, why was Jonathan still sober while Jace and Clary weren't after they ingested that Sealy drug? Because I'm wondering if it has to do anything with Jonathan's demon blood, or if it was because of the drink he immediately consumed after taking the drug, or what was it? Why was he still sober and they weren't? So there's that. Now for 320, add a few questions as well. First one being, why did Clary have to be the one to be stabbed by Glorious? Jace and Alec did a tremendous job detaining Jonathan, so I don't get why they couldn't have just done that and then just gotten Glorious waiting on the side for them and then stabbed Jonathan with it after detaining him. All they had to do would have just detained Clary until that was done. Why go through the trouble of fighting Clary in a massive fight just to when they're waiting for Jonathan to be detained? And I don't know, it just seemed like a very missed opportunity, or a misplaced opportunity. In order for one thing to happen, they just forego the harder option. I don't know. So there's that. There's the timer. Second question, as a vampire, shouldn't Simon have been able to vamp speed away from Glorious's blast radius, therefore saving himself and potentially Isabel from the blast? So that's another question there. Another question, what about Lilith? She's still on the loose. Are we going to get to see her return in the series finale, or what of it? So there's that. Another question, if Jonathan has actual black wings, I'm expecting Jace and Clary to have their own set of white wings due to their pure angel blood from Ethereal. What do you think? So there's that. And the last question, do you believe that Luke will be the one to take the Heavenly Fire Serum to become a Shadowhunter again? Because the way that he was talking to Maya about it and how he was acting towards it, it seems like he has something else up his sleeve. So that's something there as well. Let's move on to predictions very quickly. So based off the promo for the series finale, it's going to be 2.5 hours for this, which is amazing. So we see see the Shadowhunters preparing for a fight in Edom. We see a rescue mission happening for Magnus. We see Luke with runes. I can't tell if it's old or new, like past or future. We see wedding preparations as well as a ceremony. We see Simon and Izzy possibly kissing for real this time. We see Jonathan returning with blonde hair with his black wings and more powerful than before. And we see Clary going up against Jonathan. Based off the synopsis, though, for the 2 episodes, for 321, we see Clary coming up with a plan that will bring Shadowhunters and Downwarders together as Alex struggles for a way to help Magnus. And 322 has Jonathan beginning his reign of vengeful terror as the Shadowhunters try to find a way to stop him. With only one hope, Clary must make a sacrifice that could have a long-lasting implication for all. Meanwhile, wedding bells are in the air for one special couple. Sounds very ominous. But they did release previews today for the series finale. First one dealing with Maris trying to comfort Alec. Second one dealing with Alec seeing Lizard Lorenzo spelling out help in his cage before he gets a fire message about Isabel being hurt. And the third one having Magnus being back with Alec and having the idea of having their wedding that night and them discussing on where to have it. So that is pretty much it. I don't know what else to say. I'm truly excited to see how they can finish everything up storyline wise in only 2.5 hours, since it was also unexpected of them not only to have it cut prematurely as well as given a lot less shorter than what a season would give. But very excited to see what will happen. But what did you guys think of the 2 episodes? What did you like about it? What do you think will happen next? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and predictions about all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. The link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, shifts, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. WordPress account, anything I post online is connected to WordPress. A little more organized, a little more detailed, but again, a work in progress. So sorry for the rush and the delay. I'm sorry if the audio is a bit choppy. I ended up not pausing the audio when I was watching The Flash and been recording during commercials. So I do apologize about that. But I hope you do come back next week to see what I have to say about the 2-hour season finale. So until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, great week, wherever you are. Take care. Bye for now.